Alrighty, folks, here we are for another Intermediate Invitational Tournament game, this time between the beginner tournament of Q1 champion Ineria versus ManaT. Ineria has been part of the community since the beginning of this year and has been playing since, I believe, November of 2020. This is 2021. ManaT has been around since 2018. And here we go with the start of Game 1 between ManaT and Ineria. ManaT in white, Ineria in black. Okay, first placement here in A1 and then F1 with the adjacent corners. We are seeing that standard mirrored opening as explained in my openings video on TAC University. We'll see where the first deviation is going to be. We see ManaT playing down here. This next move, ManaT will likely play up here at D5. Then we'll see a capstone probably placed here at E3, E4. Instead, we're going to see a flat. Interesting. That is an interesting change to the standard mirrored opening. Now we see the capstone drop down. ManaT's got to do something here to shift the momentum into his direction once this capstone comes over. He's instead going to start keep playing this vertical threat, which I think is interesting. He forces that capture. Capture comes over with the flat stone instead of the capstone. White deciding to play on this side now, ready to cut things off. I wouldn't be surprised to see black play here, maybe protect this little stack. I was actually thinking white might play a capstone on this spot at E4. But instead black's going to place there. We do see white trying to build around, go for this horizontal threat, and also cut off this vertical threat from black. Black doing their best to cut off that horizontal threat from white while still building that vertical threat for black. A lot of solid moves here. White bringing that capstone out, and that really throws a wrench in most of black's plans and works pretty offensively for white. So this is actually shaping up to be a pretty solid game. Good capstone placements from both players. Again, ManaT has been around for quite a while. Ineria pretty new to the TAC community online. We did see some pretty strong play out of ManaT in the Blitz tournament. And naturally, Ineria won the beginner tournament, so both pretty strong players. And we did see Ineria do some really strong work against the bot that played for Matthew Hinton in the previous video of Matthew Hinton versus Ineria that was actually him cheating. But not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the excellent play from both of these players, building along for this horizontal threat, starting to build here. Building here at A2 really makes that connection off to the side. Now a connection off here at E1 or F2 would be the play on the next for white. So black's going to have to think of something. Black going to play here up at E6. This does make attack threat, capturing over B1 onto C1. So white's going to have to do something about that here. Perhaps capturing up C1 onto C2. That would create a attack threat at the same time as cutting off the vertical attack threat of white. Like I was saying, both very strong players. ManaT claims he does not do very well with a timer and much prefers asynchronous games. Okay, we do see that C1 up onto C2. That is attack threat from white. Black's going to have to do something to cut that off. And it's got to be a capture somewhere. Likely this oh, that capstone coming down would not do anything about it. This flat likely needs to come down. Yeah, this flat would need to come down. No, okay, bringing up an A1. That makes sense too. Dropping another one at A3. White's in a really strong position here. Black's got to do some work to get out of this trouble. White again renewing that threat by placing at A3. Black bringing it up. Once C1, or C2 rather, brings up to C3, Black is free to move that capstone over. Instead, white gonna bring that capstone down, capture that stack. That's a pretty strong move. White's gonna need to do something, or Black's gonna need to do something here preemptively, because if they don't play the right moves, it could end up being a Tinuë. So there's got to be something going on very strong here. Maybe a wall at C1 might work. Maybe bringing this capstone down would work. I like bringing the capstone down because it does get in that and threatens this stack here at C2, which would, again, create another attack threat for Black. So I think I like E3 down the best. He is going to drop the wall here at E2, or E1, sorry. Drop the wall at E1. This throws a wrench in White's plans quite a bit. White might decide to play here at F2, which would be attack threat. Does go for that placement. Black's going to have to do something with a capture, perhaps with the capstone, maybe with C3 down. But really the C3 down isn't super permanent because you get this recapture. So this capstone's probably going to have to come down, and then immediately afterward it's going to get filled in at E3, which builds along towards that attack threat again. So if the capstone does come down, E3 might get filled in, but Black can throw this over onto C2. But throwing that over onto C2 will give White this stack, because throwing up these pieces would capture and give a little bit more power to White. So Black is behind here. ManaT is playing really, really well. But it's not over yet for Black, of course. There's still a lot of work to be done and a lot of board to play with. We do see that a good portion of this board is just completely empty, not being used at all yet. And we see some slight liabilities here that Black can pick up, get those captives. White thinking about what to do after this capstone response. That is the response I was expecting to build along for that horizontal threat. Black may decide to throw this capstone over. If they do, that is attack threat. If they wait and instead place here at C1, that would give White the chance to bring this capstone over on top of this C2 stack to keep Black from using that capstone to get it, which would be tough to come back from. I feel like C1 is not the play here. I'm not sure if C1 was played. Maybe they're hoping that ManaT misses this threat. I don't think that's going to happen in this case. Maybe throwing over. I'm not convinced that throwing the capstone over was the best move either. There are a lot of possibilities here. It's hard to say what would have worked out the best, especially since we're so early on in the game. There are a lot of different paths that each player can go down. And as expected, White does bring that stack up, or bring that stack over rather, and captures on top, this time with the whole stack. And so that gives this a lot of power in both directions. Playing here at f3 would be a tag threat. Playing up here at c6 would also be a tag threat for white. Being able to come up and cover up all of that action that black has going on. This is where black needs to be careful. Black definitely needs to be careful here. You see black placing here, stopping that f3 placement. Doesn't work completely for an offensive threat for black, but it is a strong position for white still. Being able to throw this, spread this stack out, would be able to take this whole stack, bring it up, drop one white, and then the capstone here, which would make almost a road, just leaving the c6 to be captured at the end. This is where you might see something along the lines of, I wouldn't be surprised to see white play here at b3. The reason for that is playing at b3 gives white the opportunity to throw this up, and once they've thrown it up, they've got a vertical threat and a horizontal threat at the same time. So b3 would be a pretty solid spot to place for a good setup in the future. ManaT taking his time. They're both pretty even in terms of time. 12 minutes, 12 minutes. There we go. We do see white play here at b3. That does not make any sort of attack threat right now, but it is prepping for that move, like I was saying before, to be able to make that vertical and horizontal threat on the next move. Black's got to be wary of that, got to be aware, make sure they make some sort of move here that keeps that from turning into a Tinuë. One of those moves would be perhaps capturing here onto d3. Maybe with the flat at c3 that might work. Would lose the capture war, but it would keep that Tinuë pattern from emerging. Uh-oh, black playing here at a4. This might be game. I'm not sure. If white makes that move, that could be a Tinuë. Think about this. Dropping that. Where are the lynch points here and here? No way to capture those. This coming down would capture. Yeah, okay, so it wouldn't be Tinuë. It would just be a really strong threat. Because this capturing. Okay, white's trying to set up the Tinuë now. This is attack threat from white. Bringing this stack up, capturing, and dropping up here onto c5 would be a win, a road for white. I guess he did see this move. This was the only move that black would have had to stop that from being a Tinuë, was coming down with d4 onto d3 here in response to this throw, this big spread. But instead, we're seeing white decide to play up here to make that attack threat. Now black could decide to drop a wall here, or maybe come down with this stack now. It's tough to say what the best plan is, but this capstone stack is in a really powerful position, and it's going to be tough to deal with that. Black bringing that wall over. Okay. All right. I approve. That was a good one. So he stops that vertical threat from happening by bringing this wall over. Sorry. Okay, let's see. ManaT now has to respond. Can still make attack threat in the horizontal direction, but one that would be easily cut off by any sort of capstone movement. Now, what I think might be good is playing here at b2 for white. What that does is it sets this up, so yes, it is attack threat, and at the same time, being able to move up with this capstone keeps this other black capstone in check, so it won't be able to move up and move down to stop things. It's kind of stuck. So instead we're going to see white play up here at f4. This does a couple things. This coming down would be a horizontal threat, but also placing here at f4 kind of gets in the way of this horizontal and vertical threat of black, because this is the key stone in all of the threats for black right now. So being able to place something adjacent to that keystone is pretty important. Able to interrupt that, any sort of road that black might be trying to build. Black can, however, make a road threat first by placing here at e1. Placing at e1 would allow the capture of f3 onto e3, which would be a road. So white would have to respond probably with f4 down, which would be another attack threat. And let's see, f4 down, then you'd likely see a4 down as well. Black instead going to make another attack threat by placing here at b4, coming up with this, or placing here, or placing here. All of those work for tack. So white's going to have to respond to this. This is where I think we might see this capstone stack finally move. It could move up and interrupt this whole horizontal road threat, at the same time making their own horizontal road threat. And there we do see it. We do see white come up with this. And so this is a particularly strong move, because let's say this horizontal road threat gets cut off by something. This capstone coming up would not cut it off. It's going to have to be on this side, a4 coming down perhaps. And then you might see f4 come down. And if f4 comes down, that's attack threat in the horizontal direction and the vertical direction. So this is pretty strong play from both players. White has a really strong positioning here though, and it's going to be really tough for black to combat this. One of the possible moves besides the a4 coming down is taking this this wall stack and throwing it up onto d3. I believe that would stop the road threat, also threaten this stack of pieces, which would help liberate some flats for black. Not sure if that would actually work. My brain is not functioning at full capacity today. But this capstone is definitely stuck. Can't move up. That would result in a road down here or up here. So that's stuck. Can't make any captures onto e3. That wouldn't work because this has more range, can throw across. Capturing down here, would that work? Yes, it would work momentarily. I do think though a4 minus or throwing this wall stack up would be the best move to do. Oh no! Ineria missed the road threat here. Coming across with this capstone will be the road. That is ManaT taking game 1 in this Intermediate Invitational Tournament. Really strong showing. I was rooting for Ineria there, even though ManaT is on my fantasy team. I did pick ManaT for my fantasy roster, again, because he played really well against me in that Blitz tournament. And really well against me in one of the asynchronous games that we played together recently. So, anyway, back to this. Well played both players, though. It was a really strong showing from both players. Ineria got kind of stuck here. Let's see what point she got stuck. It was this unexpected opening, and then black sort of allowed white to build such a strong position, and then this capstone was really well placed. I really, really liked where this capstone was placed. It doesn't fit all of the rules and guidelines that I put out in my How to Place Capstones video, but it does work for this particular game pretty well. And black's decided to sort of keep building this vertical threat even while this capstone could come over and interrupt it. And so I think that might have been a little bit of folly. Black might have decided to play over here instead onto a2 on that previous move. And I think right around here, when this capstone was placed, and just a couple moves after, that's where this game sort of turned around and really became white just pressuring and pressuring and pressuring with all that momentum. And we do see when white gains this stack with this capstone, also pretty huge. That's the start of all the power that came into this capstone. And from there, it was just black on the back foot the whole time. Can you imagine playing that quick? Whew, that would be nuts. Anyway, excellently played from both players. Looks like we're about to get the second game. Here is game 2 from Ineria and ManaT. Ineria as white, ManaT as black. And we see again at A1 for that first move. And adjacent corners, just like last game, and going for that absolute same mirrored opening that we see so often. All right, and we see building up in that vertical direction, just as we expected. And then building around when we get this sort of different opening here from black. So instead of building up as usual, decides to build across, and then white builds across. So white does have the momentum here, can keep building horizontally, and then black would have to respond to that horizontal road. But instead, white going to be building here, which is interesting. So this does build towards a vertical road for white and cut off black's threats. But I do feel like building along for that horizontal threat for white would have been a little bit stronger here, kept that momentum. But we shall see how this turns out. This is Ineria's chance to shine and come back. White trying to think of what to do in response to this f3 move here. I do feel like maybe coming across here at e4 might work, because that does work in both directions a little bit. Okay, so dropping the capstone. All right, so that is a pretty solid capstone placement. Again, with the capstone video that I placed with the guidelines. Be sure to check that out on TAC University. Black not giving up here. Playing here does a couple of things. We do see building along for that horizontal road threat still, but also This is in line for this vertical threat connecting to the original piece. Black coming down with this capstone right here to interrupt any sort of horizontal threat that white goes for. This is where I think playing up here maybe at f4 might be good for white because it still works for that horizontal direction, but also builds in this vertical direction as well and far away from this capstone. So that might be nice. So building up here might be good. Works in both directions. Does decide to build at f4 because it does work in both of these directions, and that's important and keeps it away from this capstone control. I think the likely response here would probably be f3 coming down or c5 coming down. One of those will likely happen. f3 coming down is probably not going to happen because that's not such a great move at this point. e2 could also come across, but again, also not great. But it would cut off this vertical threat. Right now, white is in control of this game. Black dropping a wall. Pretty strong response. Definitely does not want white to get ahead here. I'm not quite sure what that wall does at this point. It can cut off here by coming over to d4, and that would cut off the horizontal threat and also work on a little bit of this vertical threat as well. But white can just keep building up here or build up here, d5, f5, and kind of control where this wall goes. I think maybe building at d5 might work here. At the same time, could decide to build here at c2 and kind of cut off all of what black's doing. And if you build at c2, okay, so here's attack threat from white crushing this wall or coming up with f2. Black decides to come down with the capstone, cut that off. This is where I was thinking of building at c2 instead of playing at a4. The reason for that being that c2, play here, and then if the capstone doesn't come down, you can bring this flat down and then still win this capture war and isolate the black capstone. Pretty strong move and not super orthodox, so it might be easy to miss that. But anyway, that's not what happened. Instead, this capstone came down. This capstone is in the game now. This is where we'll likely see some play from white, shifting directions, maybe going up here to f5 or at d5 to start building for that vertical road threat. White does have momentum, will be able to build a road before black does. Now that this capstone is down, a likely move that we will see is probably going to be this f3 down move. And so we do see white building up here at d5 for this vertical threat. Again, coming down with f4 to f3 would be a attack threat at this point. Okay, black going for a c5 placement. This does a couple things again. It goes for that vertical threat for black, but also sort of cuts off anything that white can do. It can come over and interrupt what white's building. White might decide to build something, maybe down here at c2, might decide to build up here at c6, or keep going for that momentum, build here at d6 and make that attack threat. Nothing wrong with making continuous attack threats, that's for sure. White building at c2 to sort of interrupt what black is building for this vertical, but I think you might just see black play at b2 here to go around that white flat. Let's see what ManaT is going to think about here. I do think building at b2 would probably be pretty good. Building at c6, also not a bad choice. Deciding to build at d6. Interesting. Wants to cut off that opportunity that white has been building to try to make that vertical threat right from the start here. We might see white decide to place at e5 next, or e6, one of those two. Going to build at e6. This allows for a capture over or a placement here at e5 to start making that road threat. Solid play from both of these players so far. Black doing a good job of interrupting things that white is going for, seeing all the avenues, what's likely going to be played next, and interrupting those. Not able to make too much progress on his own threats, however. So that is costing him. That is, the difficulty with playing as black. Okay, deciding to play down here at b2. Like I said, going around this white flat, trying to come down and make this vertical threat. White can make the vertical threat now by placing at e5, but it could be easily interrupted by moving this d6 down. d6 down would probably be responded to by an f5 placement, which would renew that attack threat. So I think e5 placement is the way to go here. White instead playing down at b1. I don't think that's what she wanted to do here. She wanted to keep pushing the momentum that she has, but instead deciding to play for this defensive move. I'm not too pleased about that one. I don't think that one's going to work out for her too well. I do think that playing at e5 would have been the move to play there. Black just going around, placing down here at a2, makes that connection. This is attack threat for black. White's got to respond to it somehow. I imagine we'll see something, maybe a b1 plus or a c2 plus. I think c2 plus is probably the stronger move here. Ineria thinking, what can she do to stop this and still maintain a threat going forward? Placing a wall, that also works. Coming down with the black flat on b5, renews that tag threat. Placing at b6 would be a road. White coming down with that wall onto c5. We may see black decide to play here at b6, which would renew the tag threat by moving this capstone over onto b4. Does play at b6, renewing that tag threat. White's going to have to do something to stop this. Quick moves here. Placed at b6 and a b4 plus, which is an interesting move, but it definitely works. And it's a stronger move than what I would have come up with, so I like that move. Now that the momentum is sort of lost for black, white can start building, maybe play here at e5 on the next turn, since black won't be able to renew that road threat immediately. Playing at e5 would give the momentum to white and start building towards that vertical threat. Black can also renew a road threat, a separate road threat, by bringing f3 down to f2. Bringing f3 down to f2 would be a horizontal road threat by taking c3 down or throwing this capstone down even. So that may be a move to make for black. If black does that, it would also cut off a lot of what white's doing in terms of this vertical threat. Black going to make the c6 placement here, which is interesting. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is behind that. This is where I expect white to start playing here at e5. Instead, white going to make that f4 minus move. This does the same thing. It does create that tack threat by placing here at e5 or capturing over with e6 onto d6. I do think I like e5 a little bit better there, but this does work for attack threat and helps cut off this horizontal threat for black. Black coming over with that wall to stop that vertical threat from white. This is where I think e5 again is the move to play. This is again a attack threat for white. Placing here at e4 would be a road. If a placement is made to cut this off, you'll likely see an f4 placement to renew that threat and force a capture at the same time. This is where black's got to think of something to do here. Probably the move is going to be e2 to the right. That would cut off the vertical threat, and it wouldn't be able to be renewed immediately like placing something here would. Even placing a wall here, you can renew that threat again by placing here at f4. And this can be accomplished by dropping a flat here or smashing this wall. Either of those would work. Brings the wall up. Will we see an f5 placement? I'm going to say likely. And we do. Will we see a wall on f6? Yes, we will. Lots of walls. That's 3 walls here for black, deciding, okay, I've had enough of white's shenanigans. We're shutting these down right now. Now white's going to have to think of some other way to come out ahead. Let's check the flats right now. Since there are 4 walls on the board, this may go to flats. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for black. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for white. So white is in the lead in terms of flats. White bringing this capstone up by itself to make that tack threat. Dangerous move, but there is still this e2 to the right move that black has sort of in their back pocket. Let's see. Yeah, so I'd say that black is trying to figure out how to do this. We might see white make this smash anyway onto e5 here. What that would do is smashing this would create another attack threat by coming down, but black will likely take this wall stack and throw it down to get this captive. White instead building behind. Black may decide to take this wall stack and throw it down anyway. No attack threat here from white, so black does have time to make some sort of move here. I think one move that doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but I think would still be really good, would be taking d2 and moving it onto c2. This would create this citadel here, which would be a really strong spot and help keep things from happening in the defensive realm so that black can eventually make this smash on this wall for some sort of threat. And so while black can smash this wall on c5, I do feel like d2 to the left would be a stronger play because it would set up for a more definite move with that smash. Black taking his time, trying to figure out what to do in response to white's continued threats along this line. Reinforcing this here at e3 was a pretty solid move. I like that. It's thinking a little long term. It can still be shut down by black, but it is also not attack threat. Black can control the momentum here and go for attack threat or decide to shore up his position before finally making that move. And what I mean by a move that doesn't make sense but would be really good, what I mean is it's unintuitive to move d2 to the left here onto c2. Unintuitive, but I do feel like it would be really, really strong, just because it would build this citadel and protect c3 specifically, because that's sort of one of those clincher key points in this road for black. And it would also protect b2, which is another one, and so it would definitely give a lot of strength to that position. Black instead building over on a5. Now this is an interesting spot because he wants to come over here and make that threat by capturing over on to b5, because he knows that a wall here wouldn't stop him. Bringing this wall over would just allow him to have a road. So white's going to have to either make a move offensively to start this threat, or do something else down here, maybe place a wall at a3 to preempt any sort of road from happening. A wall here doesn't really do that, but it also kind of does. If black responds by bringing this over, white responds by bringing the wall up. If black responds by smashing the wall, white responds by capturing up onto a5, or bringing this wall over even. And so there's a lot of opportunities here that white has to shut this down. So this wall actually isn't too bad of a move. It actually works. What black wants to do is not capture over onto b5. One thing also to note in this game is take a look at the time. We've got 10 minutes for Ineria and 6 minutes for ManaT. ManaT is playing a lot slower. He does take his time quite a bit more. He is used to playing those asynchronous games, plays them a lot more than he plays regular timed games on Playtech. Ineria, before playing in the beginner tournament, had only ever played on a physical board with one singular person. So playing in the beginner tournament is basically all of her experience in terms of Playtech. Has played some games since then, but not too many. I believe, and I could be mistaken here, but I believe ManaT has played a few hundred more games than Ineria has. So we do see a3 being placed from black. that does not create any sort of attack threat, so white is free to make their own moves and move towards their own threats at this point. So Ineria has played in total on playtech. Again, this is on playtech, not in total, because she has played quite a number of games on a physical board. 51 games versus ManaT's 514 games. So quite a bit of a difference there in terms of experience. I doubt that that Ineria has played 500 games with one person. So ManaT definitely does have an advantage here in the experience department, but Ineria is showing quite a bit of skill here and definitely showing she is not someone to be trifled with here. You can almost make a road along 4 and 5 just by using walls. That's what Ali says here in the chat. You can almost make a road with just walls. 5 walls on the board here, all concentrated pretty close together. Again, Ineria can make a smash here, can decide to go up here and smash e5, would be a road threat. Black can shut it down by either e2 to the right or by throwing this wall stack down here to capture this stack and liberate some prisoners, which I think would be a really strong move. Even if white doesn't make this smash, that's still a pretty strong move. And would be able to make attack threat out of that at the same time. Ineria definitely taking her time on this move, trying to make these last few moves count, since this is coming down to the end of the game. We do see quite a few reserves from each player here, but the board is getting pretty filled up. There are only 5 spaces open, so some captures are going to have to happen, or we're going to see a board fill, which will result, of course, in a flat win for one of these players. Right now, it looks like black may have come into the lead in terms of flats, so let's count these up. White moving this wall up, which I found really interesting, and I'm not quite sure what the purpose of that is, but they're probably smarter than I am in terms of why they're doing that. So let's count some flats and see what this stands at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. To 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So white is in the lead in terms of flats. So if it does go to a board fill, white would win this. Neither player has immediate positive flat count differential moves. Black can make some of those by throwing this wall down again to f3, be able to liberate that prisoner and make one of those moves. If he gets a hold of this stack, could do that as well. White doesn't really have any options for that. Interesting. And again, this tournament is played with no Comey, as we are just playing 2 games each. Or 1 game each with each color, rather. No Comey, so it is just a straight count of the flats. All right, white placing up at c5. And why placing at c5 for flat count? Oh, no, because it was a road. That's why. I am so blind. Can't believe I didn't pay attention to that at all, right? Was that it? But black played at c5. Okay. No. Yeah, now it's a road threat that white has to respond to, because coming over with a5 here would be a road in the vertical direction. So white's got to do something here to stop that. If white moves this wall up, black's just going to place at a6 and make another road threat. And while this game is played with no coming and both players are having a chance to play as each color, let's say, because a ManaT won in the last game, let's say Ineria wins this game, that is going to be 1-1. They each get 2 points in this match and continue up, and that is the round robin in the group stage right now. And so the person with the most points in each group stage goes on to the playoffs, and then there's one random wild card that gets the final 4th position in the playoffs, and the wild card is actually just whoever did the best out of all 3 groups that did not make it into the playoffs. Ooh, this is a dangerous move, bringing that wall down for black. Black really wants to capture that stack, really wants to do something here. And that is problematic. It's going to be really hard for black to not smash that. It won't be an immediate attack threat, for sure, but it is a very, very strong move. Black building here, so when he does smash it, it is attack threat. We might see white play e6 to the left here, as that would be attack threat, and it might be easy to miss. Because smashing this wall would be a road in that direction going up. Look at the time again, 4:50 to 3:50, so about a minute separates both of these. We did see there was a 4-minute gap earlier, and now it's down to just a 1-minute gap between these 2 players. Ineria definitely taking her time now that we're nearing the end of this game, trying to make sure that all of her moves count, and that she can try to make something happen, try to bring a win home. Which would be pretty huge, because ManaT is one of the favorites to win this whole tournament. When I say one of the favorites to win this whole tournament, I mean I've picked ManaT as one of the favorites to win this whole tournament. I don't know what other people are saying, but I feel like he's one of the stronger players. I've got ManaT and Pluto. Who else do I have expected to do well? Morton, I also expect to do well. Ooh, we do see this cap smash from white, bringing this up here. This is attack threat. This is where I expect to see this wall come down, flying onto f3. That's where I expect that to go in order to stop this threat. But if he does that, will white decide to smash their own wall? That is the question. So white is keeping black from smashing this stack by creating a road threat that black has to respond to. In the chat, we're seeing Arch Venison says he picked ManaT and Ineria in his roster for the fantasy team, so this match is 0 stakes for him. That's one way to play it, for sure. All right, so we do see that wall come down, capture this stack on f3. This gives him a positive flat differential move, which is pretty strong. What will we see white do now? I can see white filling in at white, or even moving this capstone back down. It wouldn't be a attack threat, but it is a position there. being able to bring c2 to the right would sort of renew that vertical threat by either placing or throwing that stack over onto e2. White instead building up here at a6. I'm not quite sure what the point of that is. We're likely going to see black take this capstone and smash this for a threat. Now that white threat is shut down. Black is likely to do that. As we're seeing, there's some pretty tough competition in this tournament. Ineria doing really well. I'm very impressed with her play so far in this tournament. We did see, the only other time we've seen Ineria play in competition was in the beginner tournament, and she did really well, obviously, winning the tournament and going undefeated in the playoff rounds. And so that was pretty huge. But yeah, who knew she would do so well in this intermediate tournament as well? We're going to have more of those beginner tournaments so we can start finding some more excellent players and adding them to these ranks of these top players. Black coming down with that wall to make that road threat. This is a horizontal threat for black. Coming down here. White has to respond somehow. I feel like a c2 to the right might work here. Could decide to take this stack and spread it out. Drop one at f3 and one at f2. Recover this. That would lead to the wall coming back up, but would give another move to white to stop that. So we do see that move. This wall has got to come up here onto f2. He wants that to happen because he does not want this white stack to come over and make that positive flat count differential move. Does make that. Will we see white play an unorthodox move again and drop a white, a black, and then drop that capstone here to capture this big stack? Probably not, but that would be kind of fun and it would be exciting. She does have more time on the clock, can afford to play a little bit more of these risky moves as long as she has some sort of way to stop what black does when he smashes this capstone, or smashes this wall rather, with the capstone. So she can afford to make a few more risky moves and make ManaT think a little harder on how to defend against them, but not too much as they are nearing pretty close in time. Okay, we do see that risky move, just like I was saying. Wow, fun. I like that Ineria sees these fun moves that I think of and think, nah, and goes for them. That's always fun. So now that this is threatened, we're likely going to see black take this big stack here, drop the black flat here, and drop the rest of the flats here and the wall onto f4, just like that, to renew that tag threat. White going to bring this wall, this capstone up, to capture that, release this prisoner, also capture this stack as well, and that will give a little bit more in terms of flat count differential, be able to use this capstone to move over and interrupt that threat. If black wants to make a move now, black can make this smash, take this stack. What that would do is it would basically force white to take this capstone stack, drop a white, and then come over here with the capstone. That would interrupt this threat. Would be a complete force in that regard, but it would be one of the better moves, I think, and potentially the only one to really stop that. Black setting up for a Tinuë. Really wants to do that. So white's going to have to think of something pretty quick here because black wants to smash this wall. Now that this a5 has gone up to a6, when he smashes this wall, it does create a horizontal threat and a vertical threat at the same time that cannot be stopped by anything. So white needs to make a proper response here or this ends up being a Tinuë move. White does not make the response. Black is able to make that Tinuë, and that is going to be the game for black. White missed that opportunity, missed that was going to be a Tinuë here, and we can chalk that up to only having 50 games as a... Oh, did... What? Am I missing something? Why did black play at a5? It's, yeah, why did... I'm confused. Black missed the Tinuë as well. Okay. I thought that was the point of the a6 move. Him doing this doesn't lead to a win for white. Yeah, I'm not sure why he didn't take the smash. Okay. All right, looks like ManaT missed the Tinuë. Tinuë still available to him, though. If he does smash that wall on c5, he does take the win. Doesn't take the win, decides to play here. This is a attack threat, however. He does still have the option of smashing this wall for a Tinuë. It would still be Tinuë if he smashed the wall. He is low on time, and that is probably what's causing him to miss this potential move. But I felt like he'd been building for it for a long time. Misses that again. Does make another attack threat. This a4 is going to come up here onto a5 naturally, as we expected. And once that does, he can again make that same Tinuë move by smashing on c5. Both pretty low on time now. Ineria now lower on time than ManaT. Granted, they do get 10 seconds per turn. And they are playing with the right time controls, so that's good. Uh-oh, Ineria down to 20 seconds. Gotta make a move here. She may have just finally seen that this is Tinuë for black. Still a Tinuë move for black, so he can still smash there at c5 and take the win. But he has missed the last few turns. And again, this is just me seeing it right now. I'm pretty positive that I'm right, that it is Tinuë, but there is still a possibility that I'm wrong, however slim that may be, because as we all know, I am perfect and all knowledgeable. So, let's see. Black deciding to play here at b3. White playing here at e5. That does make attack threat for white. Now black cannot smash this for Tinuë because it would end up in a loss. So white playing more. Oh no. Black dropping more walls. Another attack threat for white. Another attack threat for white. Black can take this stack and bring it over here to the left, but he's running low on time. He may not see that move in time. He does see a move in time. Brings that stack over. White renews that threat. Black brings the capstone over, captures onto this line, stops any sort of threat from happening. White playing here to maybe try to bait out a capture. White can take this stack now with the wall. But it may lead to this capstone capturing onto this big stack to make another threat. Does make that, and so this is a threat in two ways. That doesn't stop it. Black will take the win here. They were both low on time, and they were kind of stretched for that. Did not see a lot of those things. ManaT did miss that Tinuë threat for several turns. Ineria almost turned it around. Well played to both players. Congratulations to ManaT winning both rounds of this match. So ManaT gets 4 points. And hooray me for putting him on my fantasy team. So excellent play for both players, though. This game was a lot of fun. It was fun to see. Let's see where we saw that tag threat begin. Okay, so this is where on this turn, white moves this capstone here. And at this point on turn 31, if black had smashed this wall, that would have been Tinuë. So let's in fact open that up and take a look at it real quick. I want to analyze this and make sure I'm right. So let's open it up in PTN Ninja. You'll see things are loading very slowly because I am streaming and recording right now, and that slows my computer down quite a bit. All right, so 31. This is where we see the capstone come over. And instead of playing at A5, let's say that black decided to smash here. So this comes down for a road, and it comes over for a road. And there's nothing that can stop both of those, so yes, that is Tinuë. So he did miss it on turn 31, and he still had it on turn 32, and on turn 33, and he still had it on turn 34. But he didn't have it on 35 because white made that threat. So on turn 35, that happened. So yeah, that's when it went away. Now let's look at here. When this wall came up and this smash happened, this wasn't a guaranteed victory for black, or was it? Was this Tinuë? Let's see. 40, if he comes over with this. Let's see. Comes over with this. That comes up 1. Comes over. Yeah, so it would have been Tinuë anyway on this spot. So yeah, well played. That was a fun game to watch, and it was a fun match to watch. Both of the games were fun. So be sure to check out the description at the bottom of this video to see all the TAC resources that we have available to us, including the playtac.com website where you can play folks online. Also, the rules for the game so you can learn it. Check out the videos on my channel for how to play TAC. Check out the subreddit. Especially check out the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub. It's where everybody goes to talk about TAC, find players to play with, where we organize all these tournaments and everything. It's all on that TAC Discord. That is the place to be. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, Discord is a audio and text chatting web application and mobile application, and it's super easy to use, doesn't cost a thing, and you don't even have to download anything if you don't want to. Thanks for checking it out, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.